Okay, guys. Well, thank you for being here on the first episode of the Wolf in a Suit podcast and for being my first wonderful guest. We have Finkel here, who have actually just released a fantastic movie that if you haven't seen it, download it, purchase it, anything like that, go and do it right now because it's just great. It's a trip, it's relaxing, and you get to know a little bit of the US that you were not familiar with. And I love that. So, here, please introduce yourself, guys.
Well, thanks for having us on. I'm Brian Spencer,
And I'm Jane Spencer.
and we make up the indie pop, electronic, whatever you want to call us, duo Finkel.
And before we go any further, Brian, I'm going to get you a different chair because that one's too squeaky.
What?
The magic of a podcast.
That's right. That's right.
We can get the squeak, we can get a little bit of everything.
That's right. That's right. You can get my wife telling me that I'm too squeaky. All of the
It's
above.
not you. Well, unless that was you, and then we have other issues.
Right.
Okay,
okay.
now we are solid in our seats.
Perfect. No, I appreciate that. It gives it more of a real life feel.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're going for here.
Pretty real.
First of all, I already knew of you guys from the music side because I've heard you guys. I feature you on my website and everything. But then I got this email. I'm like, movie? What's going on? Let me check it out. I saw the trailer. I was like, oh wow, this is something. I need to know more about this because typically when you hear the word islander, you think of islands like Hawaii. And the trailer was like, where's the waves, the surfing? Where's that? Is it just like the intro?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I actually like that you guys expanded on what we typically know as a definition of islanders. Is it how the locals call themselves, like in Mackinac Island? Do they really feel like, oh, we're islanders?
Yeah, well, that's a very charged topic, and a lot of what is questioned and discovered in the film, because it's like anything that has few people that are able to attach their identity to it. It becomes more and more finite who's allowed to call themselves that. Because in a place like New York, you could say, I'm a New Yorker. And people would, well, actually, I don't know if that's true.
Identity. It's definitely a film that kind of challenges the idea of identity, especially in a small town. And when everybody considers themselves islanders, there's certainly politicized viewpoints about what that can mean, and if you've grown up on the island or if you've just been there for a long period of time, it kind of depends on how you feel about yourself at the end of the day. But of course, people will have their opinions about what is an islander. And I don't know. I don't know if other islands have a similar sort of.
I bet they do.
I'm sure that they do.
I've heard
Identity
that
is everything.
about Hawaii
Yeah.
in particular.
I've heard that too, actually. What you just mentioned, the local people are like, yes, you're here to visit. Yes, it's lovely, beautiful. Do you know this and this and this? I'm like, no.
Right.
Yeah, there becomes kind of more of a need to make an identity for it because so many people have so much connection to it. And I know for Mackinac, so many people who will have been there one time will tell me, oh, Mackinac is my home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great part of the island. But very few people know what it's like in the winter, and that is what we used this time to experience, was writing music there and portraying a side of the island that is very rarely seen, because Mackinac is known for its tourism in the summer, and in the winter, a lot of times I've heard from people saying that they thought the whole island shut down and no one lived there, which would be horrible for the piping system.
Yeah.
But so that's a lot of what this was, and also for myself personally, I grew up there and I lived there until I was 18, And even still, I'm not sure if I'm able to call myself an islander because I haven't lived there since I was 18. And so the movie discovers a lot about that. And because it's a documentary, then I suppose me in my real life discovered it.
Right.
Yeah, I like the fact that you guys showed a little bit of, like you mentioned, you went it there in the winter when typically most people will be like, oh, where's everybody? There's a lot of people there. There's life. It's just that it's more of a local type of life. And if you're willing to give it a try, well, give it a try. But I think the fact that you chose that specific period in time made it appealing because it made it different. And I actually, because on that, I was able to see like, wait, are they really recording that sound and that sound? And this is actually where one of my question comes to mind. What drives you in that quest for those unique sounds? Like, how do you know they can work?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess
We did not.
yeah. I guess you don't know. You just kind of follow, and I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to do this record and this film is because we ourselves it was a discovery sort of method. We wanted to see the island, a place that Jane grew up, living on, and me visiting. We wanted to kind of reposition the island in our head and reintroduce it to ourselves. And a great way to do that is get very granular about what you're listening to and taking in. And when your ears are tuned to listen for every little detail, you start to kind of think, oh well, that sound in particular, or that frequency would sit really, really well with a song that we were working on the island, or potentially maybe it inspires a whole new song. So it really just depended on what those sounds were and what context we fielded them in, and also what mental state we were in when we heard them. There's a lot of variable, but you kind of just run with it and experiment, throw all of the paint that you can at a wall, and see what picture comes out on the other side.
Mm-hmm. It was very experimental.
Mm-hmm.
It was really our first time diving into music creating in this way, in the sound capture and then manipulation, sort of a way, and now we're completely addicted to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You actually got me thinking when after finishing the film, I was like, I wonder if they were just walking here, where would they find like sounds to use? And I just started looking at everything.
Yeah.
Hit that, cool. Would it make a noise?
I'm so happy to hear that.
We were, for a while, after we got back from Mackinac, and we were wanting to keep our field recording chops up, and we didn't really have a lot of that audio gear was rented or borrowed, and so we just basically had our iPhones with us, and we were thinking to ourselves, man, Mackinac definitely has its own unique sound, but every place has its own unique sound. So we were walking around our neighborhood in Los Angeles. We were recording taco stands that are, regularly frequented by us, and turning, our own little neighborhood into tiny little snippets or vignettes of music. And yeah, I mean, it definitely stimulated a part of our creativity that we hadn't really totally tapped into yet, which, 10 years into any sort of medium, you hope for that sort of stuff. You hope there's always something to discover, and that's why you keep coming back, and it hasn't stopped yet. So.
And one of the sound capture elements that I didn't think about beforehand, that I then realized when we came back to LA, was the sounds that we were capturing on the island were in such silence. And we could really get a really isolated sound, and we really were able to hear a lot of the elements that were going on around us, because there isn't a lot of just periphery noise. And here in LA, when we capture sounds, there's a lot more periphery music that's getting in, and so that completely changes the way in which they can be used and the kind of effect that they just naturally have on them. So that's been a cool continuation of our study.
Yeah,
I like that. Actually, in the film, you guys play around. You were playing around, and there's a one sound that I kind of enjoyed, especially it was your singing with the guitar, like you did like a kind of ghost sound type of singing. I was like, whoa, whoa, I like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
we had a very similar response as you might have seen on camera. Yeah, I mean, those things are so resonant. Those acoustic guitars, and that baby of mine has been in the family for a long time. And again, just another way to kind of look at an instrument and try and figure out how to play it without necessarily going the traditional route. And as soon as we got a little bit of feedback and resonance coming out of the whole of the acoustic guitar, we were like, we got to run with this, and it just thankfully worked out.
It turned into haunted noises and our song about ghosts on the island because the island is very haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the film, you also show something that I was like, huh, I didn't know there was something called a ghost light. And for anybody hearing out, you'll ask the same question, but you need to see it to really get it, to be like, oh, what's a ghost light?
Yeah.
Well, we discovered what a ghost light is because somebody told us this afterwards, and I had no idea.
Really?
There's a point in the movie where there's one of the filmmakers, Joe, my cousin, is walking around in an old theater that is notoriously haunted, and he sees this light, and it says, "Do not disturb the ghost light." And we thought that we inserted a lot of our own storylines behind it, but what it actually is in the theater, it's bad luck. Okay, geez, now I should make sure I have my story right, but it's bad luck to have any lights go out in the theater. It's like the show must go on kind of a vibe. Don't quote me on this, but it's a theater thing.
It was explained to us that it was a theatrical standard in most theaters.
And you have to keep it on.
And that you have to keep it on, yeah. So even though the island is haunted and there is a very direct line to that sort of narrative, it's actually just something that's done in all theaters, usually all over the world.
But I
don't know.
I bet that ghosts have their way with that light. If it was, I'm sure that they turn it on and off sometimes.
Have their way with it.
Well, typically theaters are actually known as places who have some sort of haunting feel. Like there's actually a famous play, Phantom of the Opera, that kind of plays into that.
Of course, right. Yeah, exactly.
I like that you guys, like, as I mentioned, that you play with sounds and everything. And I don't know, you might have noticed there's a lot of talks about AI, artificial intelligence, getting into music, getting into art. Yes. And I think, to me, what you're doing is kind of like a rebellion. You're being rebellious to that because you're like, okay, yes, AI, you can do this, you can do that. But can you find the sound, the beauty in this can that I have right here, this can of soup? Can you do this?
Right. Yeah, I love that. It kind of feels that way, and it's kind of interesting that you brought that up because in the last couple weeks specifically, AI has really kind of surfaced, at least in my reading material, with respect to the art field, and I'm constantly going back and forth with how I feel about it. We haven't even really talked about
let's talk about
AI specifically in terms of music or visual art, but I do think that there is something really special to just latching on to and being receptive to the world around you. And the creation of AI art is an absolute art form. The technology that goes into creating it is incredibly bright, and it's amazing that we're even at this point in human history where this is happening. But I do think that I do feel a sense of rebellion, and I kind of spoke for me without me even realizing that there is that sense of rebellion for the two of us. We do think that the human quality of and just the natural elements that exist. There's enough music going around already, and maybe we'll dabble into AI art at some point and music at some point. But for now, there's a lot of sounds to explore and discover. So we gotta figure out what this real world is like before we jump into a fictitious one.
That's very much true. Maybe the AI can become more like a friend, not so much as you're coming in to take my things. Oh, you're coming in to play with me. Okay, I can share.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's willing to play nice, we're down.
I feel like
exactly.
You just have to, because tools always are just kind of built to make things easier or to make impossible things possible. And they can always be manipulated for creativity. And so I think that I feel like that there's always going to be a way for us to take this AI technology and do really cool things with it. But part of, for me, the interesting thing about music and about art is knowing who made it and why they made it. And for me, AI just, if it's about the artist who made the AI, then maybe that would be more interesting to me, but just the AI is not quite enough of a storyline for me.
Hmm.
That's true, because in the end, music needs to make you feel something. And I do think that whoever's making the music needs to be feeling something as well. Because maybe you're not going to share exactly what you were feeling at the time, but whoever listens to it be like, oh, it connects with me in one way or another.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
it's a cultural connective tissue, and without it, human existence becomes a little bit void of that thing that makes us human. And so I think there's never going to be a moment, I hope, uh, where the humanity leaves art in its entirety. I think it needs that for the progression and the evolution of art.
it is very much part of our advancement, as you said. And also, it's still one of those few things like visual art, music is also able to just break the barrier of language and be like non
Yeah,
existent.
Mm,
Because you could speak just English and be like listening to something in Spanish, French, Chinese, Japanese, be like,
yeah,
oh wow, I'm feeling something. I don't know what it is, but just feeling it.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Last night we were riding to go pick up some new chairs for our apartment, and we were listening to some Nigerian music right as the sun is setting, and it was speaking volumes to that
yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I think like food, music, it breaks down communication barriers in a way that I think is really important for um, human understanding on a grand scheme, and that's a really big part of our mission with this project and with these films and with our music is to help in our very own small way connect human beings together through the conduit of music and of course food too. We love food, but we're not going on our documentary and teaching how to cook or anything. It's very much about the music. So you know we're utilizing our passion as best that we can to try and benefit this place that we're in while we're here.
Because spoiler alert, we are trying to do more of these films and go to more places,
Yeah,
and to not be the experts in the room and to never have that sort of stance on where we're going, but and not have to tell everything about a place, but just to connect with a few locals and see what that place is like through their eyes, through the local places that they go to, through places that their friends hang out, and to just get an idea of another way of life and to record sounds along the way and make music from it.
and create something cool that can represent at least that time period that we were there doing it with
Mm-hmm.
them.
Awesome. That actually, thank you for that spoiler. And do you think you're going to continue on that line of islands, or you think, you know what, you're going to mix it up and just see where it takes you?
It's a good question. We've been talking about it internally with our team. We're probably not going to give away too much on this
No, no,
front,
no.
but we definitely are looking to branch out. We're not necessarily going to be strictly going to archipelagos around the world. We're
But we wouldn't be opposed to it.
wouldn't be opposed to it. There's a lot of really cool islands out there that both of us, I'm sure, would be very excited to go.
I want to go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly.
really, we're just wanting to experience life and allow others to experience it through our eyes. And so, but we do have a season that we're trying to build out, and we've done a couple prototype episodes on our YouTube channel with our film crew. One's going to come out soon. That was shot in Tijuana, Mexico, and so
Oh,
there are plans and things in motion that we're we're working towards. We're at the very beginning. You're saying the tip of the iceberg.
Tijuana has a heartbeat. Oh my goodness, the sounds in that city are really something special.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to hear all about this. And I'm pretty sure whoever's listening is also going to get really, really excited. And I hope that they have already either watched the movie or ready to just go and watch it, because they'll see the quality of work that you and your team do. Like, it's really something.
Appreciate that. That
we
means
are
a lot.
So lucky to be working with the team that we are, and that we all. The reason why we are working together is because we're all such great friends and family,
and we all share a mission that is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the film showed a lot of Mackinac Island. It showed a lot of aspects of it that, as you mentioned, maybe the tourists will not know it, like a place called White Elephant. I'm not gonna ask too much about it because I know it is a secret.
Yeah.
But did you end up discovering who tricked it out?
Oh, good question.
That's a very good. So White
Elephant, have theories.
for people listening, is part of a broader Mackinac Island thing where we had different hangout spots that we would go to in the woods, and they all had secret names so that we could go be alone, no parents. This was a lot of what was going on in my high school days, that we continue to hang out at these places. And White Elephant is one of them, because a downed tree that you sit on looks like the open trunk of an elephant.
And its bark is stripped because it's been down for years now, and so it's got this really cool, soft white underbelly of a tree, and so and it looks, like Jane was saying, like this elephant. And
but to answer your question about it, I think it's a younger generation who tricked it out, because they put a roof on it. We were. A lot of what happens on the island is, because there are no malls, there's not a movie theater in the winter, there's not a lot of activities that you go do in the winter that are not self-created. So growing up there, we would make up our own entertainment, and a lot of that was by tricking out these forts in the woods. And it was so much fun. And it is still so much fun. We still trick out these forts, and I'm 30.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that. Do you think that actually helped you be, musically creative?
For sure.
Certainly.
For sure.
Anytime that you can tap back into your inner child, I think that's where creativity actually exists most freely, is when you don't have the world impacting your decision making. You're kind of just creating without repercussion or anything like that. And so when you go into the woods and you start picking up sticks and stacking them against each other, you're really just doing what your little kid self would have done. And there are other ways to tap into that for sure, but definitely on the island, where nature is such an important part to the island's ethos, you got to get into it. You got to get your hands dirty, and it really does open up, I think, a creative portal that brings you back to that inner child, which was really fun to explore while we were on the island recording.
And I feel like if the moments where you just get to mess around and not have any real idea of what an outcome needs to be, and there's nothing that tells you how you have to do it. That inspires creativity, and that could be with cooking, it could be with cleaning, it could be with making a fort in the woods, it could be drawing, making a macaroni necklace, whatever it may be. Which actually, of all of the creative endeavors that I've done, which I came from an artist family, is a lot, I have never made a macaroni necklace.
Oh, we can do that this weekend.
Okay, all right, crossed off the
there
list.
You go. You got a plan. I actually saw that, and thank you for showing that in the film as well. We get to see your family and your parents. I'm like, oh wow, they're so lovely. They're just, what do you need? Let's go. Come on. They're like pushing you to be creative, just looking at you, and like the look in their faces is just happiness, and that's something really, really wonderful to see.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Really special that you even brought them up in this interview. I mean, we're nothing without the people that guide us through life, our friends, and then, specifically our family, Jane's folks, my folks, everybody that's in this circle of humans watching this project grow and continue to move forward. Everybody has been so supportive. And at the core of that is definitely our parents, and it was really special. It's going to be a gift for our entire lives when we start thinking about having kids and starting our own family. This is a gift for the Finkel and Spencer families in perpetuity, and we're so grateful to have been able to have the opportunity to do it at all.
And I'm so happy that they were okay with being filmed, because they're very private people, actually, and it's not something that's within their comfort zone, but like we keep on doing to them, I feel like, because just artists and musician children who do put their work out for people to see, I think that they've gotten maybe more warmed up to the idea of sharing more of their lives. But normally they're supporting us sharing ours, and they were so true to themselves on camera. And
what you see is what you get.
It was an honor to be there while it was being captured, and just seeing, because they're just such wonderful people. I love my parents so much, and they just do it differently than anybody else that I've ever met.
And it's inspiring, continues to inspire us.
And they were naturals. They were perfect for the camera, to be honest.
They're all-stars, man, yeah.
They need to be the hosts of these shows.
I know. Well, maybe if we continue to do more of these, we'll continue to rope in
my mom would be so down. She would come. She would come to wherever we were going.
She's probably assuming she's already got a role in the next one anyway.
I'm sure.
Probably. And not to give too much, because there was this specific moment in the film that you crossed something quite, honestly, to me, I still find it like I wouldn't do it. But you mentioned kids. Would you cross the ice bridge with them? Maybe, of course, when they feel like, this is a good age, let's do it. Let's do this adventure.
That's a great question. It's a great question that we haven't actually even talked about before. I think
it would depend on who was driving with us.
Yeah, and it would also depend, what the conditions are, because they change so variably. And for those that haven't seen the film yet, the ice bridge is a phenomenon that happens between St. Ignace and Mackinac Island in one of the straits in Lake Huron. And every so often it gets cold enough to where the lake freezes over, and that lake is at its deepest around 200 feet deep. It's a very deep lake. And so the fact that it freezes at all means that the weather conditions are incredibly cold and kind of perfect to be able to, not too choppy. And it can change in an instant, because weather changes in an instant in Michigan, but especially northern Michigan.
And it's moving water.
It's open water. So, I think it would really depend on how cold it was, how thick the ice was, and how many people had gone before us. But I'm certain that, given that it's safe, I would love to take future kids out there. It's an experience unlike anything else. It feels like you're standing on another planet, but it is something that you need to be very careful about approaching. And we tried to depict that as well in the film, because we also don't want people...
You did.
We don't want people to go out there haphazardly thinking that it's something that, can just be done whimsically.
It was actually a big concern of mine to film that portion of our experience on the island, because I did not want at all to portray that it is a flippant activity to ride your snowmobile across the lake.
Yeah.
Because people do go in and people do die.
Yeah.
And that's one of I didn't want it to become a highlight reel moment where people didn't feel
the gravity of it.
The gravity of
no.
For being unsafe. And the year that we filmed this, there were 4 good days.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's
one
wild to think that there's only 4 days that it was safe, and before and after it was deemed not so, because there's a team of people who go out and check the ice every day. Volunteers, of course, and
the planet's changing. It's getting warmer, and so the opportunity for that bridge to happen, it's getting, and depending on how we end up treating the world as a mass civilization moving forward, we'll see what even that bridge is in future years. But if the conditions are right, going back to your original question, absolutely, the future kids would.
Our hypothetical.
Our hypothetical. Yeah, they would love it. They would absolutely love
They're
it.
They're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And just to end in a beautiful conclusion, I'm going to ask you this one last thing.
Sure.
Just describe Mackinac Island to you. What is it to you?
I'll go first because you're probably going to have a lot more to say with it being your hometown. Mackinac Island is home to me, to both of us. Mackinac Island is home. It's safe, and it's highly creative and supportive. It's not given to you the respect, it's earned, and because of that, a lot of beautiful things can happen from a community that is constantly trying to make sure that their family, their island is okay and maintained. And it's one of the most incredible places on the planet, and I highly encourage people to check it out, specifically in the summer, and if they get the opportunity in the winter, but don't over abuse it, because it is special and our home, and we don't want it too popularized. But anyway, that's my Mackinac Island.
Oh my goodness, what is Mackinac Island? It's a great question.
Yeah.
Mackinac Island, to me, is a very living body of land. There's so much energy in the actual landscape there. I feel so deeply connected to it. Like I get a lot of big sister energy from Mackinac, and she's always taken me to the cool spots and shown me about life, and with a little bit of a sense of humor. Whenever I go back there, I feel such a return to neutral, where a lot of ego and vanity seems to really wash away there, because it just seems like a ridiculous place to have it. It's like, what does that matter here? Look around you. It's such a tight-knit community, and it's so supportive of everyone, and from our perspective of Brian and I, the community is outrageously supportive of us. And so willing to help and share what we're working on, and excited about things, and put it in the paper. And
we wouldn't be a project without Mackinac Island.
We would not be. That was where we first. That was where our band truly originated. Mm-hmm. So I guess if I could wrap it up in a bow, and let me just start by saying, I don't know what I'm about to say, so we'll see where this goes. But to wrap it up with a bow, Mackinac Island is a place that opens its heart to the people that open their heart to it, and it has a lot to share and a lot to teach. Mm-hmm. And that's what Mackinac is to me.
And we really hope that we convey it in this film, and we hope everybody that's listening enjoys it if they've seen it already, and if they haven't, go check it out, because there's a lot of Mackinac out there for everybody.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being one of my first guests, and for sharing such an incredible journey with the film. And I honestly, if anybody's listening, definitely go and not only listen to their music, watch the movie, then do both. Because at the same time, if you want to have that unique experience, because the movie itself does have a bit of your songs as part of the soundtrack. So definitely go check both things out, because there are fantastic experiences, and they show so much of the world, Mackinac Island, and of this wonderful band, Finkel. So thank you for having us, and thank you for being here, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you
Thank you
too.
so
This is a
much.
total pleasure. Thank you.